Good morning, and I welcome you all to the 2015 ceremony celebrating Veterans Day and thanking those who have served. A special thanks, of course, to the Hingham High School Band, which just played for us. And I now invite the presentation of the colors by the police and fire departments, and also to ask to come forward Callie German, who will sing the national anthem.
Veterans Detail, attend! Raise it! Up!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order! Order!
Thank you, Callie. I now invite Father Sinisha Ubiparapovich to give the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear God, we give you thanks for having brought us here together this day. We especially give you thanks for these brave veterans who have served this nation with such fortitude and self-sacrifice. It is because of them, dear God, that we are able to enjoy the inalienable rights which you have endowed us with, namely life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Bless all those gathered here today and continue to protect this nation, which from the beginning has been devoted to you. We ask this through your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I invite you to take your seats, and also to be certain that your cell phones are either off or silenced. We have with us today a number of honored guests. I know that Congressman Stephen Lynch from the 8th District is on his way. He may be here by now. We also have State Representative Garrett Bradley and James Murphy. Our two state reps are kindly making multiple house calls today on Veterans Day to Weymouth, to Hull, and here to Hingham. We have the chairman of our Board of Selectmen, Paul Healey. We have Ted Alexiadis, our town administrator. We have Selectman Paul Gannon. We have our town clerk, Eileen McCracken. We have from the Sewer Commission, Commissioner and veteran Ed Demko. And we have our police chief, Glenn Olson, and our fire chief, Robert Olson. We're grateful to have all of you here today, and of course, all of the citizens of Hingham who are gathered here to honor and to thank those who have served us. We gather today, as we rightly do each year, to recognize and to thank those who have served our nation in military service, to pay tribute to those men and women who have set aside their personal pursuits to answer a call to serve in our nation's armed forces, giving of themselves to safeguard the freedoms that we cherish and to protect our very way of life. That we can assemble as a free people and enjoy the unalienable rights called out so clearly in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, bears witness to the debt that we owe our nation's veterans, both here in Hingham and abroad. Today, fewer Americans are called to military service. The effect that this reality will have on our national character remains to be seen. Should it prove to be evidence of our beating our swords into plowshares, it would indeed be a hopeful sign. Yet the turmoil in our world tells us that this is not likely to be the case. Whatever the ultimate outcome, this change should serve to heighten, to intensify the respect that we have for our veterans, for without their service and their sacrifice, we would not enjoy the safety and the freedom and the opportunities that we do. In his last address to the cadets at West Point in 1962, General Douglas MacArthur stated well the fact that the soldier, above all people, prays for peace, for he must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war. We know this to be true, not only for those in the Army, but for those in the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. Wherever these selfless fellow Americans serve, whether here or abroad, whether in times of peace or in times of war, there remains one immutable fact, that they deserve our profound respect and our enduring gratitude. I now invite to make remarks Congressman Stephen Lynch from the 8th District of Massachusetts in our United States Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. Thank you. It is wonderful to be with you on this beautiful occasion. Fortunately, in my district, I have 3 cities and 22 towns, and every single one of them is having a Veterans Day celebration this morning. So I had to scramble here from the town of Canton, where the speaker went. It was going on and on and on, and finally I shut up, and I said I have to get down to Hingham. But it's great to be with you, and Hingham has had such a, driving down here and the historic homes on each side as you're coming into town, and Hingham has had just a long and strong history of patriotic service to this country, going back to the Revolutionary War, and we thank the reenactors for being here this morning, but right up through the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so as I begin, I would like to, first of all, thank Moderator Puzo for his kindness. Thank you, Mike. But also just recognize a couple of people who are at different points of their career but who are both sons of Hingham and have both carried on in that military tradition of excellence and patriotism on behalf of the town and to our nation. The first person I would like to recognize and ask to come to the podium is our own Keith German, who has done remarkable service to this country and to veterans in this community and around the South Shore as a veterans agent, but also as Chief Petty Officer. He returns to us from his 6th deployment as a United States Navy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah. No, stay right here. Stay right here. One of the great things I get to do, please be seated, thank you. As a member of Congress, one of the great honors I have is when there are special occasions, like the return of Keith German and his service to our country, I can ask the architect of the Capitol to please fly a flag over the Capitol in honor of that special occasion. So this morning, actually, earlier last week, I asked the architect of the Capitol if he would please do so. And this is a flag of the United States. And this flag, this flag was flown over the United States Capitol in honor of CPO Keith A. German, United States Navy, in recognition of his commitment to veterans in Hingham, Massachusetts, and his selfless service and dedication to these United States of America, the United States Navy, and for the families of Hingham, Massachusetts. Stephen Ayers, architect of the Capitol, offered by Stephen F. Lynch, member of Congress. Congratulations, Keith.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. You are.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Okay. And the other son of Hingham is very, very new in his career, and we're not going to do anything formal and elaborate, but one of the other great things I get to do as a member of Congress is nominate young people to our military academies. And again, Hingham has had a long and strong history of offering his sons and daughters to the service of this nation. And I want to recognize Benjamin Maud. Ben Maud is at 214 Levitt Street, Hingham. His parents are Michael and Anna Maud. He's a graduate of Xaverian Brothers High School, and he will graduate at the West Point class of 2019. So we want to recognize Ben Maud for his service. Actually, let me see. He's not here today because he's at West Point. But still, he's a son of Hingham, and you should be very, very proud of his willingness to serve. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So one of the wonderful things that the Veterans Agents of Massachusetts do is they often report back. I mean, I'm in Washington 4 or 5 days a week, and my Veterans Agents, like Keith German and his successor, and all over the state, we have one in every town, pretty much, although I know sometimes one Veterans Agent has to handle several towns, but we get feedback of what are the things that are bothering veterans, and what struggles of their families continue to deal with. And several months ago, we got a report that many of our returning veterans, and we all are aware of the struggles that folks coming back after multiple tours of duty, like Keith. I was in Camp Leatherneck a while back, and I met a Marine there who had done 7 tours. He's the only one I've ever met that's done more tours than Keith German, and I've met a lot of our sons and daughters overseas. But what's happening is, because of those repeated tours of duty, there is a psychological trauma that affects those young men and women. And we've seen that in the elevated suicide rates among returning veterans. especially the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And we have had a gap in our ability to protect those returning veterans. And I'll explain. We have, in the federal government, we have a directive to the VA, to the Defense Department, to the State Department, at the Post Office. We have federal departments that actually do a lot of hiring. We hire tens of thousands of returning veterans in the federal government. And yet, when they transition back, that first year that they are back, we were getting calls that many of these veterans are not able to go to their doctor's appointments because they don't get paid medical leave for the first year. It begins in the second year. But what we're learning is that first year is a golden opportunity to help those veterans transition back to civilian life. And yet we were getting calls from veterans and their spouses and their families that the veterans were being forced to skip their medical appointments, their psychiatric appointments, because they were not getting, they would have to skip work, unauthorized leaves from work, to attend their doctor's appointments. So my staff and I got a great staff, and we sat down in Washington, D.C., and we drafted a bill basically called the Wounded Warriors Medical Leave Act, that for that first year we would provide 104 hours of medical leave for returning veterans. So we filed the bill, and it was going nowhere. I went over and talked to a young member of Congress, Jason Chaffetz from Utah, a Republican, but who travels with me quite a bit. We got a bunch. We got 30 Democrats and 30 Republicans to sign on to the bill. Then I happened to meet John Tester, the senator from Montana, on the plane coming out of Logan Airport, and I got his ear. We happened to be sitting across from each other, and he said he loved the bill, and he sponsored it in the Senate. And make a long story short, I'm very happy to say that it cleared the House and Senate, and last week, about 6 days ago, President Obama signed the Wounded Warrior Medical Leave Act into law, so that our sons and daughters returning from Iraq and Afghanistan will have full covered medical leave, so they can go get their issues taken care of medically without having to, take personal time off from work. So there are some good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So there are some good things happening down in Washington, and they just don't make the newspapers. But look, the service that our veterans have rendered to this country is incredible. And I did not serve in the military, but I figure it is my responsibility to serve those that do, our active military, and those who have, our veterans. And it all comes home when you meet with Gold Star families, because they have made the ultimate sacrifice. My mother-in-law, Helen Shaughnessy, who lives with me, that's how it works in South Boston, you gain family. It's like they say, you're not losing a family, you're gaining a family when you get married. Well, my in-laws came to live with me, and they're a blessing. But Mrs. Shaughnessy, she's a Gold Star sister. And her brother Arnie was killed in his first combat jump over the Rhine in April of 1944, just months before the war ended in Europe. Very, very tragic. He was 22 years old. And Mrs. Shaughnessy, her mother, was the head of the Boston chapter of the Gold Star Mothers. So Helen, who lives with me again, she was sort of the go-to person for a lot of that. And she loves Veterans Day. She loves Veterans Day, and she loves Memorial Day. Those are her favorite holidays, she says. And she decorates the house and does the whole 9 yards for Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And the reason, she says, is because on that day, on those days, on Veterans Day especially, she knows that her neighborhood, her town, her city, her state, her country share her burden that everybody's remembering her brother and his service and sacrifice, and that we do not forget. And that's what brings us here today. That's why you are in those seats. That's why we are here today, because we are remembering the service and sacrifice of those who have come before us. And I just want to thank you, because I know there are some Gold Star families out there that appreciate, like my mother-in-law and her family, I know they appreciate you remembering their sons and daughters for their service. So God bless the town of Hingham, God bless our veterans, and God bless these United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Lynch. We are honored to have you with us today. Next, I invite the Hingham High School Band, again under the direction of Brian Sincata. They will perform the Armed Forces Medley, and as is our tradition, I invite the veterans to please rise as your particular service song is played. Thank you. We welcome back Garrett Bradley, who was with us earlier, and we're grateful to have your return. Next, I invite forward the chairman of our Board of Selectmen, Paul Healey.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Congressman Lynch, Representative Bradley, honored guests. In Verdun, France, the mortal remains of 130,000 unknown soldiers lie in the Douaumont ossuary, a grim reminder of the horrible price of war. First proclaimed on November 11, 1919, on the first-year anniversary marking the end of World War I, Armistice Day was to be a day dedicated to the cause of peace. In 1954, after the end of the Korean War, it was renamed to Veterans Day to honor American veterans of all wars. Today, we continue to honor those men and women who served in our armed forces, those who signed on a dotted line that says, "I am willing to do whatever it takes to protect my nation." They stood and stand ready to serve, to deploy and fight, and if necessary, to pay the ultimate price for our nation. Those citizens amongst us, those who chose to take on this selfless duty and obligation to live for a service to the nation and not for oneself. They promised that if forced to choose between their own self-interests or the nation, it is the country they serve. In stepping forward, they agree that all is done for the unit, and all is credited to the unit, whether it is the squad, the company, the battery, the squadron, the wing, the brigade, the ship, the fleet. But the ultimate unit that every American service member commits to, above all others, is the American nation. The American service member commits to being duty-bound, the duty-bound military arm of the American nation of which we are all a part of. While this day honors individual men and women, it also honors what they stand for. It is about honoring selfless service in an era where people are becoming increasingly self-centered. While some choose to embrace the benefits of a culture of individualism, we are nonetheless fortunate that there are those who truly live a life of selfless contribution to the nation by serving in uniform. The relationship between military service and our national culture has changed over the course of our lifetimes. Some say that we have become disconnected from each other as a group, as a member of a unified group, and as a nation of people. Our town supports its service members because we know from hard experience that while armies win battles, it is nations that win wars. The nation whose civilians most strongly support their soldiers and endure sacrifices win wars. The nation whose civilians most intensely mobilize to support the war effort, endure painful sacrifice, win wars. But most importantly, the nation whose civilians amongst us, who step forward to become soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and guardians of our coasts, win wars. This is the day to honor those civilians who became soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and guardians. As a town, we have long recognized our commitment to our service members. We recognize that serving in uniform is not an occupation, but rather an integral part of our nation's fabric, vital to ensure and safeguard the freedoms we enjoy as a people. In August this year, the Department of Defense recognized the town of Hingham with the Freedom Award. It can be seen at the Pentagon. It can be seen in our town hall lobby. Among the 15 recipients, we are the only town in the United States of America to be recognized for our support to our National Guard and Military Reserve employees. At this time, when I call your name, I would ask that you stand up. I would like to recognize Veteran Service Officer, Chief Petty Officer Keith German. Keith nominated Town Administrator Theodore Alexiadis for the Patriot Award. Police Detective John Marquardt, a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. Nominated former Chief Michael Perrino is here in the audience with us today for the Patriot Award as well. We recognize and thank Veteran Service Officer Jamie Litchfield for his stellar service during the time that Keith was deployed in Djibouti. We thank Congressman Lynch and his staff for their strong support and efforts in behalf of receiving the Freedom Award. Finally, in closing, in Hingham, we've recently begun a tradition of presenting a town flag and a certificate of appreciation to the families whose loved ones wear the uniform of our country. At this time, it is a privilege to present this flag of our town in appreciation to the Keenan family. I would ask Mr. Keenan to stand. Paul is a member of our Veterans Council, and his wife Kathleen are both veterans, and they are the proud parents of Patrick Keenan, presently serving as a paratrooper in the 173rd Airborne in Italy. Hingham's continuing to serve our country, and to the women and men who serve in its armed forces ensures we will long endure. On this Veterans Day, it is truly befitting to honor those amongst us who have stepped forward in the past to serve and those that do so now. God bless America. Mr. Keenan, would you come up, please? The certificate of appreciation presented to the Keenan family, and there'll be two, one for the family and one for Patrick, so that wherever he serves and wherever he travels, he can carry this with him to know that the town of Hingham is behind him. We present this flag as a symbol of our gratitude for your service to the United States of America and representing the town of Hingham, Massachusetts. Your commitment carries forward our town's centuries-long tradition of service in the defense of our country. The townspeople of Hingham are grateful for your sacrifice and proud of your dedication in continuing to reflect the values of Hingham while serving the United States of America. That's for you and your wife and your family. I want to give them a lot there. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Beautifully, beautifully said. I also would like to take this moment to recognize to my left, to your right, our State Senator Robert Hedlund, and of course the Mayor-elect of the town of Weymouth. Thank you, Bob. It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Let me first give you some background on our keynote speaker. Lieutenant Kutkiewicz assumed the duties of 1st District Public Affairs Officer in June of 2014, United States Coast Guard. She oversees all Coast Guard external affairs missions across 8 northeastern states, including more than 2,000 miles of coastline, from the United States-Canadian border to northern New Jersey, and 1,300 miles offshore. In fulfilling these responsibilities, Kutkiewicz communicates with the public, and she engages stakeholder groups through her 2 offices in Manhattan and in Boston. She provides strategic communication guidance to over 11,000 active duty, reserve, civilian, and auxiliary Coast Guard personnel, and ensures widespread media coverage of the district's 30 cutters, 200 boats, and 8 aircraft. Lieutenant Kutkiewicz's 14-year career has taken her from the Rock of Gibraltar to the Galapagos, from Peru to the Aleutians, and to many points in between. She's covered all 50 states, 27 countries, 5 continents. Before assignment at the 1st Coast Guard District, she served as the operations officer aboard the Coast Guard cutter Boutwell. The Boutwell is one of the largest and most versatile ships in the Coast Guard fleet. It has a 160-person crew and a range of 14,000 miles. She led the ship's maritime law enforcement team into high-threat areas, apprehended dozens of narcotic traffickers, and seized 19 tons of cocaine that were headed to American streets in the largest drug bust in Coast Guard history. A seasoned interagency and public relations professional, Lieutenant Kutkiewicz served as a Joint Task Force Public Affairs Officer for the historic 44th presidential inauguration of President Obama in Washington, D.C. Kutkiewicz holds her Bachelor's of Science degree in Operations Research and Computer Analysis from the United States Coast Guard Academy and her Master's degree in Journalism and Media Studies from San Diego State. Her awards include the Joint Service Achievement Medal, the Coast Guard Achievement Medals, Presidential Unit Citation, and the National Defense Service Medal. Lieutenant Kutkiewicz is a native of Des Moines in the state of Washington, and she currently lives here in Hingham with her husband, Todd. Lieutenant Kutkiewicz.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
You're welcome.
I like saying Mr. Moderator. I'm pretty nervous, so if I talk too fast or too loudly or too slowly, just bear with me.
I'll let you know, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I always know the Chief is going to have my back, no matter what, so I really appreciate you even putting this whole thing together, so thank you very much. Congressman, thank you for being here. Mr. Bradley, State Representative Murphy, thank you. I'm impressed you got back to and from Hull in this amount of time. That's very impressive, I hope. All the cops are in here, so you're good to go. Board of Selectmen, Healey, Selectman Paul Gannon, thank you very much. And Mr. Moderator and also Town Administrator, very nice to meet you this morning. Town Clerk McCracken, and also the Sewer Commissioner Ed DeMarco, thank you. Demko, I'm sorry. I said it wrong the first time, too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to ad-lib just a little bit from this. I had a fantastic time this morning having breakfast with the veterans. I was honored last year by coming here to this fine occasion for the first time and seeing the overwhelming support for veterans in the community. I've never seen anything like it, and it is tremendous, the support that you guys have with the community and the support the community has for the veterans. So I thank you, the town of Hingham, that your award, the Freedom Award, is very much deserved, and it is a true pleasure to call Hingham home. Hey, Scouts, you guys are doing a great job up there. Trust me, I will not be very long. Good morning and happy Veterans Day. Veterans Day is also one of my favorite holidays, as is your mother-in-law. So I get to put this uniform on every day, but this is one of the only days I get to put on my dress blues. So it's really, really great. Tonight we get to go to the Celtics game and we get to be honored on court too. But when people ask me what I was looking forward to Veterans Day, it wasn't going to the Celtics game. I mean, as awesome that is I'd rather be here and to be here as your keynote speaker today. So in my bio, we mentioned I'm currently serving as the first Coast Guard District Public Affairs Officer, and people are like, what does that mean? I do media relations and basically talk to people all the time about how awesome the Coast Guard is, and so it's really easy for me to do. So thank you for the town of Hingham for having me today. I'm truly honored. I am so thankful to live in the town of Hingham. We talk about people like, Karen, you are so lucky to live in Hingham. Well, it has nothing to do with luck. I chose wisely when I'm making our decision where to buy our first house. And so my husband and I moved to the Crow Point neighborhood a little more than a year ago, bought our first house, and we are overwhelmed by the wonderful neighborhood that we have even in our little road. And so some of my neighbors are even here supporting me. So I thank you very much. But you know what they say, home is where the military sends you. So this will be my home for a few years. I came from San Diego before this. I spent a few years there in California and Washington, D.C. and Northern California. So been a lot of places. We chose Hingham for a number of reasons. For the small town charm, the waterfront community. I mean, I love the water. For South Shore Baptist Church, and for the ease of commuting by the ferry. It shouldn't be any surprise to anyone their hometown was nominated and the recipient of the 2015 Freedom Award. The town, so I didn't know this, but it was one of 15 national employers to receive the award out of 3,000 applicants. Those are slim pickings, and so we definitely did a great job there. So kudos to the Board of Selectmen and also all the town officials. The award demonstrates the town's dedication to the employees of the National Guard and also all the reservists. So, and a lot of times those groups of men and women who serve in the National Guard and the reserves are sometimes overlooked. So it's a true testament to the town. So the Coast Guard is, so I love talking about the Coast Guard, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is the smallest of all the armed forces, with a workforce of a little more than 88,000 active duty reserves, civilian employees, and auxiliaries. We have a bunch of volunteer men and women who serve, volunteer, and teach boating safety. And so what a wonderful group they are. We're actually smaller than the New York Police Department. So we get the job done with a small amount of people. Here in the Northeast, our Coast Guardsmen are a little more than 6,000. We are one of the largest military contingents in the whole state of Massachusetts. When we did all the downsizing with BRAC, some of the other military moved out, but the Coast Guard, we stayed, so congratulations. You get us to help you when you're on your boats and on the water. The Coast Guard's roots actually begin here in the state of Massachusetts. Our motto in the 1st District is always first, always ready, and you'll be able to say why we are always first. We're always the first to do things in Massachusetts. The first revenue cutter was launched up in Newburyport in 1790 after the Secretary of Treasury Alexander Hamilton declared I quote, "A few armed vessels judiciously stationed at the entrance of our ports might at a small expense be made useful sentinels of the law." And thus the Coast Guard was formed. Might not have been called the Coast Guard, but it was the Coast Guard. The first commission to command was one of the revenue cutters, was issued by President Washington himself to Captain Hopley Yeaton. I'm glad my name's not Hopley, but I'm glad that he was. So he was the first commissioned officer and captain of a Coast Guard vessel. Cutters soon became involved in military affairs in every war since the creation of the United States, the Quasi-War with France, War of 1812, Seminole Wars, Mexican War, Civil War. So people think that the Coast Guard sometimes isn't a veteran of foreign wars or a war veteran, but I will go on and say why we have fought in every single conflict and war since basically the beginning of our fine country. In World War II, Coast Guard personnel manned amphibious ships and craft from the largest troop transports to the small attack craft. These landed Army and Marine forces in every important invasion in North Africa, Italy, France, and in the Pacific. We were involved in the Korean conflict, the War of Vietnam. In Vietnam, the Navy lacked shallow water craft for inshore operations, and I'm sure Chief will say that we were, shallow water craft. That's what the Coast Guard is, but you guys needed us because we knew how to operate the smaller boats. Okay. The Coast Guard sent 26 82-foot cutters, 26 cutters over to Vietnam, and that was just the beginning. Some 8,000 Coast Guardsmen served in the Vietnam War. Then we participated in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and we are currently even in Southeast Asia, in Bahrain. We have 6 Coast Guard cutters over there, still fighting that war on terror and helping our brothers and sisters in arms. A lot of people forget that we are a branch of the military and that Veterans Day should not involve the Coast Guard. And so what a pleasure it is for me to come up and tell you a little bit about my story and the fact that we're pretty brave as a people. I may not have gotten shot at, but that day could have happened. We are always ready to defend the homeland and here or abroad and serve as one of the nation's armed forces. Since that direction from Alexander Hamilton 225 years ago to form the Revenue Cutter Service, other organizations joined along the way, like the Lighthouse Service and the U.S. Light Saving Service and the Steamboat Inspection Service. That's a good one for you guys to look up later, what the Steamboat Inspection Service was. They don't care. Okay. Today, the Coast Guard can be seen throughout New England and here in Massachusetts by air at Joint Air Station Cape Cod, by sea with the medium endurance cutters in Boston's North End, and speeding through the harbor, responding to emergencies from Station Point Allerton, and in the summer, Station Situate. Veterans Day is very important to me. I'm going to try not to cry. I am unbelievably proud to wear this uniform every day. This is the only job that I want. It's the only job that I love, and I'm absolutely privileged to like going to work every day and like waking up in the morning. It's fantastic. My grandfather served in World War II, and he was killed in action in Alaska when his plane crashed in the Aleutian Islands. He was a pilot when Alaska was really the last frontier. They say it's the last frontier still, but back in the 40s it really was last frontier and barely charted. My paternal grandfather served in the Navy and retired as a senior chief out in Bremerton, Washington. One of the best men I ever knew. My dad served in the Army during Vietnam. Growing up, my family never went camping. My dad said it was because he did enough camping in the Army for his lifetime. So, there. Growing up, I knew I had to give back to this great country, to seek my own adventure. Not to mention, I really wanted to play as many Coast Guard or as many college sports as possible. So I played soccer, ran cross country, and played fast pitch. And after graduating high school, that was 15 years ago, from a small town in Des Moines in Washington State, I headed back east for the first time ever in my life by myself on a plane to attend the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut. I'd never even been to New England, but I yearned for a life of adventure out on the sea. I studied very hard. Those classes are no joke. I earned my Bachelor of Science in Operations Research and Computer Analysis. That's just a fancy word for math. And I got out of college varsity letters in soccer, cross country, and fast pitch softball. I would say that my college experience gave me exactly what I wanted, and that was to be an officer in the Coast Guard. It was a benefit that I had a bachelor's degree and in the black bank account balance, so that was actually pretty good coming out of college. After graduation, I was assigned to the Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Yes, the same Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton that was named after Alexander Hamilton, the father of our Coast Guard, in San Diego. I loved being on that 378-foot ship. It was over 40 years old at the time, but man, she was a beast and she could do anything. She's actually still in service today. Our primary mission was heading south to catch drug smugglers, transporting illegal narcotics, primarily uncut, pure cocaine in kilograms, in like bricks. So I became a federal law enforcement officer. I didn't want to stay on the ship while everybody else was having fun, so I decided to become a boarding officer. So I would go on board the little Central American boats that said that they were fishing without a hook, with no bait. So, yeah. So I think that they were transporting drugs. So then we found the drugs on their boat. Okay. So after we busted these drug runners, we took them to the United States for prosecution. The goal was to get their bosses in the drug cartels and take down their infrastructure. In 2006, when I was a baby ensign on the Coast Guard cutter Hamilton, so I was a boarding officer, and we got on board, and we found 19.1 tons of cocaine in one day. And if you know what a ton of cocaine is, you don't. It's ridiculous. It's more than what it would be in a shipping container. That much cocaine. Imagine the stability on a ship finding that much. Anyway, it was, I don't know how they thought they could outrun us. So that was valued at $575 million. And that cocaine was kept off American streets. So I spent 5 more years on these ships, and we'd go 3 months in, 3 months out. I love these cutters. 5 years on them. People hate them, but I love them. They're multi-missioned, and I climbed up the ranks from deck watch officer to weapons officer to navigation, to navigator, to operations officer. Most of my time, I was the highest ranking female on board. As operations officer, we were called on a mission off the coast of Panama. So most of the drugs come from Colombia and take other routes, either by land or by sea, up to the United States. We pay more for drugs than anybody else, so that's why they get the biggest bang for their buck. We had a Panamanian Navy officer on board, which gave us a jurisdiction to actually be in Panamanian waters. We were close to the Colombian border and a known drug trafficking route, which is really the entire coast from Ecuador up to Mexico, known drug trafficking route. But under the guise of night, we saw boats moving fast along the coast. Before daybreak, my law enforcement teams on both boats were prepped to take down these, what we thought were drug traffickers. Nobody else needs to go very fast along the coast at night if they're not doing bad things, right? Nothing good happens after midnight. That's what my parents told me. The goal was to approach these fast-moving targets at first light and take them by surprise. Don't tell people I told you that, because, that might be secret information. Yeah. You want to sneak up on them. Anyway, with the Panamanian government authority, we pounced. The coxswains on our small boats used their tactical maneuvering that we practice all the time and followed their boat into a cove. The Panamanian officer hailed them on the speeding boats to stop. That's what you have to do. You have to tell them to stop, just like the police. They have to tell you to stop. They beached the Go Fast vessel, and the occupants scattered along the shoreline. My Coast Guard law enforcement crews were greeted with AK-47s in their faces. Yep. Apparently, we had stumbled upon a FARC compound. The FARC is a guerrilla movement that started in Colombia in the 60s and wreaked havoc throughout the area and basically took over the entire government of Colombia. And the FARC compound was located in a previously unknown area, and we provided the intelligence back to the United States and our allies of where this location was. The Panamanian officer de-escalated the situation. I pulled my boats back and remained off the coast in my huge white 378-foot cutter, which now they saw bright as day. So we monitored the situation until Panamanian Navy forces arrived, because we don't have any authority on land, especially another foreign country's land. It was a real wake-up call. The FARC doesn't adhere to any government regulations. They could have shot us right there. They're a terrorist organization, and we've been fighting the war on terror for many years, including against the FARC and the guerrillas and the drug cartels up and down the entire South and Central America. This experience with my team's life on the line was life-changing. Sure, I went to the federal law enforcement training center, earned my boarding officer qualification, but nothing in training prepped me for these guys. The team I was responsible for having assault rifles pointed in their faces. Okay, so how about a story maybe a little bit closer to home, because that kind of is a downer. It's hard to relate to what the drug lords really are like in our beautiful town of Hingham. We don't have a lot of drug lords running around with their weapons. Now I tell the stories of brave Coast Guard men and women. Instead of being on the front line as the operations officer, I should go back out to sea next time as the executive officer on one of those ships. So that's my next goal after these couple years here in Hingham. My boss at Coast Guard headquarters said that I had to give someone else a chance to go out to sea. So I went to San Diego State University for 2 years. and that was wonderful. I surf well, and I play golf really well now. So if anybody wants to go to do 9 after this, if it's not raining. So I earned my master's in public relations. So now I tell sea stories as my full-time job, and it's wonderful. I won't lie, Boston was not my first choice of duty stations. I know you don't want to hear this. Hawaii was. Can you blame me? Okay. But I love it. The Coast Guard instead directed me to the highly political environment of the Northeast, where my schooling, they said, would have the most impact. So I've been stationed in Boston for a little more than a year. I can't get enough of telling the story of what the courageous Coast Guard men and women do every day so that others may live. All right, back. Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you a story. Let's go back to February of last year. Remember how horrible that was? Okay, let's go back to that. Okay, so go in your mind, okay? Come back with me at a point to where we had a lot of snow. Now remember, I moved from San Diego a year before. I was not prepared for that. So it's right before President's Day weekend. It was one of those Sundays that snowed in February. One of them. Remember, it was like every one. So our command center in Boston received an alert early in the morning, about 4 o'clock, maybe 5, a distress call from the sailing vessel Sedona. This sailing vessel was a 43-foot sailing boat, and said it was disabled and adrift in a winter storm 150 miles south of Nantucket. Jeez. The winter storm was to the tune of 9-foot seas, bad but not horrible, and building with 40-knot winds. The Sedona's alert beacon signaled to our command center, and it went off at about 4:50 in the morning. Our watchstanders in the command center, they do command and control, contacted the boat via their satellite phone. Okay, hey, my boat is powerless and my sails have been torn in the storm. Okay. Can you come and get my father and I off the boat? The weather's getting worse. Yeah, you think? Okay, so we launched a MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter. You Navy guys, I think you call them Seahawks? Seahawks. Okay. Yeah. Army, you call them Blackhawks, right? Okay. The same airframe for all the services. It's just outfitted differently for the mission at hand. I digress. So we launched the Jayhawk helicopter from the Coast Guard station, Cape Cod. It's the closest point, and it's the only air station we have in New England. Did I mention that the nor'easter had been forecasted all week? Okay. Faced with worsening storm conditions, the helicopter air crew launched successfully. God bless them. Due to ice and low visibility, the top cover, HC-144, which is a plane. Normally you provide a top cover for a plane that's going to do a rescue in case something happens to them, or if they need to, help searching, looking for the boat. With all the ice and snow, it was much easier to launch a helicopter than to keep a runway clear for takeoff for a plane. Meanwhile, the command center issued an emergency request broadcast to ships in the area. The crew of a 600-foot motor vessel, Maersk Catalin, about 40 miles away at the time, set a course towards the scene and agreed to provide communication support in case we couldn't communicate with the boat any longer if something happened to them. After navigating through the low visibility and near hurricane force winds, the air crew arrived on scene almost 3 hours after the initial receipt of distress and hoisted the men to safety. They landed safely at Air Station Cape Cod and transferred both men to local EMS to be evaluated for cold weather injuries. None were reported. By the time the crew was recovered, conditions had worsened to 25-foot seas when they actually did the hoist, and winds of nearly 60 miles an hour. The water temperature was 43 degrees and the air temperature was 35. So the helicopter, when they're in a hover, it feels like pellets stinging you, and it's like ice pellets if it's that cold. Absolutely horrible. So the father and son duo, we learned afterwards, had bought a 20-year-old racing boat off eBay, sight unseen, and planned to repair it and sail it back home to Australia. starting out in the middle of a brutal New England winter. While recovering from the hypothermia that they said they didn't have earlier, the son said his only regret was forcing the rescuers, who he called true professionals, thank you for saying that, to brave such dangerous conditions, and that he was sad to leave his boat behind, and that he still planned to sail out of his hometown. So he planned to sail that boat out of his hometown in Australia. Just remember, there's a reason there's no boats on the ocean in February. That's because it's not a safe place to be. So any of you that have boats in here, don't go on your boat in February, because that's not a good thing. The bravery of the air crews and the boat crews that responded in those conditions were awarded with medals of valor for saving strangers, for risking their own lives. The old Coast Guard motto was, you have to go out, but you don't have to come back. Moms didn't really like that one, so we changed it to Semper Paratus, which is always ready. For this reason, and others, I serve in our nation's armed forces to save fishermen in trouble off our shores here in New England, to defend our ports against terrorist threats, to educate the public on safe boating procedures, to keep our fisheries sustainable for generations to come, to rescue those in peril on the high seas, to untangle turtles caught in fishing nets, and to respond to oil spills threatening our ecosystem and oceans we work so hard to protect. This is the reason that I wear this uniform with pride, to serve my country and to honor those who have gone before me. So I end with our motto, Semper Paratus, which is always ready.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Kutkiewicz. I'd invite you now, just for a change of pace, to stand up if you are able. And the Hingham High School Band will now perform God Bless America, and you're invited to sing along. Thank you. Please be seated. We now come to the awards portion of the program, and the first award is given to our Veteran of the Year. Allow me to read the biography of our recipient of this year's Veteran of the Year award. Construction electrician, Chief Petty Officer Keith German is a lifelong resident of Hingham. Keith lives here with his wife of 28 years, Lisa, and their 3 children, Nicholas, Callie the singer, and JT. Keith's career in the Navy began in 1985 in June, but a day after graduating from Hingham High School. He also went to San Diego, California, to the Naval Training Station there. After completing technical training in June of 1986, Keith was assigned to sea duty as an interior communications electrician. His deployments included combat operations in Africa and the Persian Gulf. He has transited both the Atlantic and the Indian Oceans. He's sailed the waters of the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, the Red and the Black Seas, and he's logged over 200,000 nautical miles. Chief German left active duty in June of 1991. He returned home here to Hingham. He served 2 additional years in a reserve unit, the CB Detachment Unit based at the South Weymouth Naval Air Station, and Keith was honorably discharged in February 1993, and he began a civilian career as a licensed journeyman electrician with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW, Local Union 103 in Boston. He was a shop steward and a foreman. After witnessing the horrors of September 11th, Keith was re-affiliated with the United States Navy Reserve and assigned to Naval Mobile Construction Battalion 27. Keith has held the following positions: squad leader, platoon commander, detachment officer in charge, company LCPO, and battalion DAPA. He was also a member of the Elite Heavy Air Attachment, a unit that is available for rapid deployment globally within 72 hours of receiving notice. During the global war on terrorism, this unit was twice pressed into service, once in 2005 and again in 2008 and 2009 for Operation Iraqi Freedom. In 2014, Keith was deployed to the Horn of Africa as an individual augmentee in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, to help quell piracy and insurgency and to protect United States interests in the region. Chief German's career in the United States Navy has taken him around the world several times over, but he remains a true son of Hingham. Keith is currently employed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services as a district director. He was elected a member of the Massachusetts Veteran Service Office Association Executive Board, and in 2014, he was named Veteran Service Officer of the Year by the organization. Keith's devotion to duty is fed by the Latin motto, Pro Deo et Patria, meaning for God and country. When asked, Keith unequivocally states, "There's no place like home." These notable achievements have earned Keith German numerous awards, citations, and medals. These include the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation and Achievement Medals, Meritorious and Unit Commendations, Battle Efficiency Awards, Good Conduct Medal, Reserve Meritorious Service Medal, Naval Expeditionary Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Southwest Asia Service Medal, Iraqi Campaign Medal, Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, Overseas Service Ribbon, United States Coast Guard Special Operations Service Ribbon, Armed Forces Reserve Medal, Rifle Sharpshooter Ribbon, Expert Pistol Medal, and the coveted CB Combat Warfare Specialist insignia. Quite the bio. I invite Guy Stadig on stage and also our VFW Commander, Lieutenant David Sargent, United States Army, to present the Certificate of Appreciation from the town of Hingham.
I'll go down there.
Paul. In a second. In addition, now I'd invite Garrett Bradley, our state representative, and Senator Hedlund to award to Keith the citation as Hingham's Veteran of the Year on behalf of all of Hingham's World War II veterans as well.
Thank you. I normally let Senator Hedlund go first, but then again, I will let him have the last word today. Keith, it's an honor to be up here today to recognize this award. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincere congratulations to Chief Petty Officer Keith A. German in recognition of your being named the Hingham Veteran of the Year. The entire membership extends its very best wishes. Signed today, Veterans Day, November 11th, by the Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo, and myself, State Rep. Garrett Bradley. Thank you, Keith, and congratulations.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, town officials, for the invitation. I was able to extract myself from Weymouth's ceremony a little bit early because I did want to be here for Keith. And many of you don't know we're actually cousins. You're laughing. We're actually distant cousins by marriage, but it is true. And grandson of the late, great Anna Calvi. But I have resolutions from the Senate recognizing Keith, his distinguished service to our country, to the town. It's rather lengthy. It's probably the last resolution I will offer during my Senate tenure, so this has great meaning to me, and I'd like to present it to him now, but it does basically reiterate much of what our moderator mentioned in Keith's bio. It's forever now recorded and included in the records of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the State Senate. It was offered on November 9th, 2015 by myself, State Senator Robert Hedlund, also signed by Senate President Stan Rosenberg. And I want to thank Keith for everything he does and made his community proud, his country proud, and certainly his family proud. Thank you very much. And if I may, I just want to thank the residents of the town of Hingham for the courtesy you extended me during my tenure. This may be my last appearance here. And I want to thank our speaker today. She was very humble in talking about the Coast Guard's role in Vietnam. They actually had the highest percentage of losses of any of the branches of our military. So their combat presence has been significant through our history. Thank you.
So thank you. Here I thought it couldn't get any better than this. The Congressman came and gave me a flag from the Capitol, been bestowed a great honor from my comrades. I know it comes from them. But as I stand here and look out, 2 years, that's what I'm thinking about. 2 years. It's been 2 years since I've been on this stage. And I gaze out into the audience, seeing the faces of those I love, those I work with, and for those I have sworn to protect. I ask myself, why me? Veteran of the Year. That's a title we bestow on our comrades who have gone above and beyond the call of duty, serving our community, our state, and our nation. Serving without counting the cost, laboring, not asking or seeking reward, except the simple satisfaction of a job well done. I'm humbled by this honor because for me it's not just a job here, but a privilege to be able to come here to Town Hall and assist veterans and widows every day, advocating for benefits that were not only earned, but well deserved. There are many others here today that have contributed greatly in the ongoing success stories we have in the Department of Veteran Services. First and foremost, my wife, Lisa, who's and I know she'll get a chuckle out of this, whose constant support makes me a better leader, her innate ability to always show me the good in every situation, no matter how bleak I make it out to be. I love you, honey. Thank you. My children, Nico, Callie, JT, they keep me young. Thank you, kids. And my mother, Nancy, who could not be here today, but those who know her know she carries an infectious pride and patriotism in this country, which keeps me in the fight. I am forever grateful to my staff, some of which are here today, and the Valor Act volunteers. Thanks for minding the store while I was gone. To each and every municipal employee and department head who always helps me find a way to get to yes. No is such a simple answer. It's the easiest answer, but we always try to get to yes. Ted, our town administrator, who not only allows, but welcomes solutions of creative thinking outside the box. Thank you, Ted. My job as a veteran service officer is made 100% easier when our elected officials, local, state, and federal, are only a phone call away. They listen to me, they respond to all requests made by this office on behalf of the widows and veterans of the towns of Hingham and Cohasset. So I thank you all for your help and support along the way. Thank you. So you can plainly see, not a day goes by that I am not helped, assisted, or coached by the folks I've mentioned here today. It's the one team, one fight approach that gets the job done, and the winners are always our clients, those whose lives are touched, those who need us most. It is for all of you that I graciously accept this title and this award of Veteran of the Year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith. Our next award is given to our principal speaker of the day, Lieutenant Karen Kutkiewicz. On behalf of the town of Hingham, I'd invite Selectman Paul Gannon to come forward and give you a token of our appreciation and our gratitude.
Ooh, it's fancy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, I just really quickly want to thank everybody for coming, our congressmen, elected officials. Congratulations to Bob Hedlund, your election. I also want to be sure that this morning at the breakfast, Lieutenant Kutkiewicz and I met, and for the first time, I believe, and we had a nice gathering with a lot of the veterans, and I made the attempt to go to each and every one of them to thank them personally for their service. To anybody that I missed, anybody in this town, anybody that's with us today, I want to thank you all. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for the service that gives us all the freedoms that we enjoy today. And what makes it special as well is that all the folks in Hingham, especially our young boys and girls in service, that take the time to remember and honor the veterans, and it's deeply appreciated by all of us. So I want to thank you for being here. But it's my privilege at this time, as I present to you, Lieutenant, as a token of the town of Hingham's appreciation, it's absolutely a privilege to thank you for your service and thank you for coming today to speak to us. It's a flag of the town of Hingham.
Thank you.
Next, I invite to return to the podium Father Sinisha to give us the benediction. If you'd all please rise.
Dear God, we give you thanks for this great event today. Protect all those gathered here from any harm or anxiety. Protect especially the soldiers and veterans of this great nation, that they may continue to serve with fortitude and self-sacrifice. Keep them and us safe, dear God, and continue to draw us to your most holy love and your mercy, which is inexhaustible. We ask this through your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. I'd invite you to remain standing while the marching units adjourn.
Veterans detail, attend, hook, parade, colors. Present arms. Order! Order!
I'd invite you to join with us as our ceremony continues on the first floor and the grand staircase near the front of the building, and the Freedom Award that we've heard about today will be unveiled. It'll be a special moment. I'd invite you all to recess to that front hall for the unveiling of the Freedom Award. Thank you so much.
Detail, follow! Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in the reciting of our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, briefly, we will unveil the ceremonial unveiling of the Freedom Award that is to my right. If I could get Chairman Healey and VSO James Litchfield to unveil the monument.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming here today. This is an award that's a credit to the town, to everyone. Everybody had a role here. Everyone participated. And the continuing support that we have as a town is a tribute to our service members, and I so thank everyone for being a part of that. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Jim.
That's us. Team, hoot! Race steps forward, up! Race it, up! Details, dismiss your companies.
First detail.
On guard.
Dismissed.
Right, please.
This concludes today's ceremonies. Thank you for being in attendance. Thank you for remembering our veterans, for being here by your presence as witness to their sacrifice Please keep them in your thoughts, in your minds, not just today, but throughout the year as we prepare for next year, November 11th, 2016. Thank you so much.